Greetings and thanks for watching. Today, we're going to talk about tracking changes, editing restrictions, and commenting. We expect that you are already comfortably using your word processor in creating documents, in editing your documents, and in formatting your documents. Take note that it is possible for you to give your document to some other person to edit. The person's role will be to check grammar and make sure that maybe the language in your document is in order. The person may also want to check the content. Maybe you are writing in an area where you are really not versed and you want someone who is knowledgeable enough to check what you have written, whether the structure is in order. However, you want to reserve the right to accept his changes or reject. Because you can as well give your document to someone to edit it and the person destroys the structure of your document in such a way that the message or the content of it is distorted. We are going to show you how to pull this off. We're going to show you how to give your document to someone and be able to see and know everything that they do on it. This is known as tracking changes. On your PC, this is our working document. Remember, we've been using this document quite often. We're going to continue using this document. If I want to give this document to someone to be able to edit or modify or do anything on it, I want to track changes. Tracking changes is found on the Review tab. On your Review tab, you open the Review tab. When you open the Review tab, you have the proofing group. The proofing group of tools will permit you to run spelling and grammar checks. You have the accessibility group of tools. You have the language group of tools. You have the comments group of tool, the tracking group of tool, the changes group of tool, the compare, the protect, the ink, and the OneNote group of tools. We're going to concentrate on the comments group of tools, the tracking group of tools, the changes group of tools, and the protect group of tools. Now, in the comment group of tools, notice that the delete comment is not active. Our previous is not active. The next is not active. The show comments is not active. This is because there is no comment. Imagine I want to put comments there and we want to put a comment. We'll highlight the text or keep our blinking cursor where we want to insert a comment. When our blinking cursor is where we want to insert a comment, we're going to insert a comment. I want to tell the author of this document to change the color, the font color. You look at this, you realize that this heading has a color that is not the same with the other colors. I want to let him know that he has to change this color. So I can now click on new comment. When I click on new comment, it's going to give me the possibility to add comment. Look at how the text that I highlighted has now also been highlighted and a line has been drawn across and is telling the person that it is Isofa who is writing that comment. I want to say he should change the color. Change font color to black. Change font color to black, and that has been done. I have inserted that comment already. Now when the author will come back, the author will now see that I have a comment here. I tell the author that I've written to the author that the author should change the font color. You see, this is collaboration. This is permitted. You see, it's already getting very, very interesting and it's looking quite good already because the author now know that he can either change this color or he can as well not change the color. So that is how the comments group of tools will work. When I now click on that, you now see that the previous now appears and the next appears. We also have delete that appears. I can decide to delete this comment. If I decide to delete that comment, the comment goes away and the document remains the way it was. Now that's how the comment groups of tools will work. It permits you to write a comment somewhere. If someone is reading your document, if I check and see that this paragraph is not looking quite good, I can write a comment there and tell him to check out this paragraph. Check out this paragraph. And that would permit him to be able to check again. Maybe I think the language there is not quite good. Maybe I think that the way that it has been structured is not the best, and I would desire that he should check it out. He will go ahead and check it out. Let's go ahead and delete this comment again. When we delete the comment, the document comes back to normal. You can go ahead and experiment yourself using comment. Now let's go to the tracking group of tools. In the tracking group of tools, we can track changes. changes. We can show simple markup. We can show our document without markups. We can show all the markups, or we can show the original document. We can take to show markups. We can take to open our review pane. Our review pane will show all the changes to our document in a list. And on our review pane, we'll be able to select which one we desire to do or which one we don't want to touch. And you see that presently we have no changes that have been made. In the tracking group, before giving your document to anybody, you have to check this track changes. When I check this track changes, it's presently not going to change anything, but it's going to keep track of all the changes that I'll make in this document. And this is very, very useful if this document is our dissertation, for example, or our project, and we are almost done with it, and we desire that some other person should have a read through. So we're going to check this track changes. When I click on that track changes, notice how it is highlighted. It has now been checked, and when it is checked, it shows that our changes are being tracked. We can as well lock the track changes. When we lock these track changes, it permits us to give a password. This now will make sure that if our editor or if the person reading through our document would desire to uncheck these track changes, or he may uncheck it unknowingly, maybe he's not versed with computer so well, so we can as well put a password. When we put a password there, it will permit us to be the only ones to remove that track changes. This will make sure that whatever correction he makes on the document, he cannot remove the track changes. So when you make any correction, if I bold this, it will tell me automatically that this has been bold by Mba Isofa a few seconds ago. If I decide that I want to underline, it's going to tell me that this has been underlined. If I desire to, instead of saying click the start button, and I want to say on the start button, then I'll replace that click with on. When I replace the click with on, notice how it cancels the click and says we have added on, and that is in red. That is because we have tracked changes. The person editing our document can now not remove it, because if he wants to remove the track changes that we have logged, he will be asked to put a password, and since he do not know the password that we have used, he will not be able to do it, and all the modifications, all the corrections that he will do will still be there for us to come and see. Look at how I've deleted this. When I delete it, it tells me that they have deleted something here. It will still be there, and I can now come back to either to review it. If I come here and he decides to delete this entire row, it will show me that this has been deleted by Isofa a few seconds ago. So anything that you do to the document will be highlighted. That is how we track changes. And when you, before giving your document to anybody to edit, you have to track changes, and not only tracking changes, but you want to lock tracking. When you lock your tracking, you put a password that will restrict the person from removing that feature, so that anything that the person does on your document will be tracked. That way you are telling the person, if he does not want to work on your document without his actions being tracked, then he better leave your document the way it is. Right. And now when we have done that, all the other controls are there and can experiment with it. We can now go ahead to review the changes that have been made to our document. And when we come back, we can either remove the track changes by putting the password that we used in tracking the change, in locking the track changes, and we can now go ahead and either accept or reject. Remember that before you accept a change or reject a change, you must first of all unlock this tracking. If our tracking is locked, we will not be able to accept or reject changes. And accepting and rejecting changes is what we are going to do. That is going to permit you to be able to either keep the changes that someone has made to your document or reject the changes. You can as well move to the next change that he made by using these controls here. Right, that is about tracking changes, and you can try with the other controls, experiment with it and see how it's going to turn out. Now let us look at restricting editing. This feature will limit how anybody can edit and or format your document. For example, you can prevent formatting changes, and you can force all changes to be tracked or allow only for commenting. This is because when you give your document to someone to do anything on it, you want to limit, maybe you can tell someone to read and check the grammar It means that whatever the person sees as far as the content is concerned, the person should allow it as it is. Let's go ahead and check how this will work. When I click on restrict editing, it will open a restrict editing pane. On the restrict editing panes, we can formatting restrictions. We can say we want to limit formatting to a selection of styles. We can restrict editing. Editing restrictions, we say we are allowing only the type of editing in this document which are tracked changes. We want to allow only tracked changes, or want to allow only commenting, or want to allow only filling of forms, or we want to say no changes at all. When we take no changes at all, it's not going to change anything. The document will be just a read-only document. Whoever is accessing that file will only be able to read and will not be able to make any changes to it. And we can say start enforcement. This is where, when we have done these controls up here and we are sure, you can take start enforcement and protection. This will open the start enforcing protection dialog where you can now put the password. This password is what you will use to remove all these editing restrictions that you have inserted. And remember that in case you forget the password, that is all about the document. You have no measures of recovery here. You must, as a matter of fact, remember the password. Now let's go ahead and try with no changes. When I take no changes, we are saying everyone should not be able to make any changes to this document. That includes even yourself. Let's take yes and start enforcing protection. Now I'm going to enter my password here. I'll enter my password that I can easily remember. When that has been done, my document has been done, and I can now no longer be able to edit the document. I'm pressing on the backspace key in order to delete. I'm typing, nothing is coming out. So we have enforced a restriction there, and we can come back in our protect group and we click on our restrict editing tool. That we can now stop our protection. If we say stop protection, it will going to open our unprotect document dialog that will now put our password, and we see how to control that. We can limit formattings to a selection of styles. We can also open the settings dialog, and we control quite a lot of things here. These are quite some advanced features in Word. We are, however, not advising you to already start restricting editing in your document now, unless you are a pro already. We'll be coming back to this as we move on in our progress, in the progress of our course. For now, try to use the comments in your word processor. Try to track changes in your word processor and try to lock your tracking and come back to see how to accept and reject changes. If you are someone who have been working on documents and you have had difficulties in this area, then you find this feature very interesting. But if you're someone who's dealing with documents that you not want to use these features, then you can as well allow it. Remember, this is an advanced word processing feature.